Hey, thanks for joining me. This is pretty much just a follow up statement to my Florida shooting vid. In that, I just really wanted to stress the idea that every event is simply packaged in its presentation. You have your setting, you have your players, you have your supporting cast, you have your plot, which in this case, gun confiscation, and they began to discuss it immediately. Then you have your subplot, the present agenda that they want to push, mental health, social media. Um, and that stands true for any event. But this statement, I just want to dig a little deeper. You know, I'm of the mindset these days that if it comes from that box, it's a bunch of bullshit. It's packaged for consumption. There's zero truth attached to it. It's full of TV personalities who are overpaid, egomaniacal, void of soul. But that's how I really feel. But I also know that during any event, it's good to sort of lift the veil, because if they do let something happen, then why? What is going on? What other stories? What the hell is going on that they want to cover up? So that is one aspect too. Well, why would somebody just let it happen? Well, because it's here's my hand, here's the card. It's the magician's oldest trick in the book. Look over there. Don't look here. Move along, folks. Nothing to see here. So, what do I mean when I say grooming an asset? When an agent grooms an asset, now an operative is different from an asset in that an operative is simply someone whom the detective depends on for information about a known criminal or a known criminal organization. An asset is someone whom they use. That's what an asset is. It could be someone, it could be anything. So the first thing they'll do is they'll go undercover and they'll infiltrate that individual or that target group. Now, however long that takes, it takes. While in that process, they're planning and plotting and helping to facilitate a crime. So they get to the point where they have three choices. They're either going to let the crime happen, in which case we have an event or a mass shooting or a building blows up. They can make an arrest, which I imagine they do just about when it's time to sit down in front of the Congressional Appropriations Committee and ask for more money, right? They want more resources. They want more assets. That's exactly what they ask for. Or the third thing, they just simply sit on it until they're further instructed from way higher up the food chain. As an example of that exact scenario, there was an agent sometime, I don't know exactly when, but after the 93 New York City Twin Tower van bombing, that was an FBI. They facilitated that. They did exactly that, one of the agents came out years later and stated that he was told to just simply let it happen. So, I mean, when I talk about grooming an asset, I'm not just making this up. This was a real-world scenario. This takes place every day. And here's the thing, though. I actually think that I'm thinking 1 to 2 assets they have at their use per city. I really think that. So let's talk about NICKOLAS CRUZ. And let's see whether or not he was an asset. There are a lot of red flags for me that are going off, but let me just state that I think this was a real event. I poured through all the footage, and the witnesses were really genuine, except for that one dude in a black shirt at the end who made that very politicized, scripted statement. That was really weird. But so NICKOLAS CRUZ, was he an asset? Um, Asset, MK asset. You know, is there a difference? You know, one of the subplots that they're really pushing hard is the mental health angle, obviously, and they want every child on a pharma, or more, one or more. The more the merrier to them. So security is going to was another sort of subplot, turning schools into virtual prisons, and also those who are in the security industry reaping perhaps tens of millions of dollars in contracts. Those are just tiny little subplots. Those are what I call the dividends. You know, you reap the dividends by praying to your Lord King Lucifer, right? I mean, these are all Luciferians. Anyway, I digress. Let's stay on NICKOLAS CRUZ, because I heard an early report. I only heard it once, and I poured through all the footage, and we could be hearing more of it. I've sort of tuned out in the last few days. Of NICKOLAS CRUZ hearing voices in his head. Now, one or two things. That's either total bullshit, because they want to push the mental health aspect and really push schools into early screening, you know, the earlier the better, targeting, pre-crime, and everything that goes along with security and safety. Or he himself was on one of these SSRI inhibitors, which, of course, the media will never mention, because guess what pays for every third commercial you see when you actually watch? But who the fuck tunes in anymore, right? I certainly don't. Which kind of begs the question, how old was NICKOLAS CRUZ when he was given his first prescription? And I'm assuming it was pretty young, because he was adopted. And there's a red flag for me, because if you're adopted, there's a 99.999% chance that you've had a run-in with Child Protective Services and the foster care system. And those are mechanisms that are utilized by federal agencies and intelligence agencies as grooming centers. I mean, both from a trafficking standpoint, a drug standpoint, and an asset standpoint. So, like I said, in this particular instance, I think this was a real shooter. But then again, who knows anymore? You know, that's why I wanted to dig this angle, because there is that element attached to him. He does have those sort of red flags around him. I just wanted to put it out there because I couldn't fit everything into one video. So anyway, thanks for listening. If you like this, feel free to leave a comment and push that subscribe button. Thanks a lot.